actually sunny. It's actually nice here. And we're going to take you around Cleveland and show you some cool spots.
You would take 10 at-bats against the reigning AL Cy Young and Tarek Skubal. He's a Cardinals fan. What is that going to look like?
The lefty ball's coming at me. He might have some ASR on it. It might tail away. I'm going to try to send him to right field. I'm definitely going to get a knock. But I'm no disrespect. Obviously, he's the GOAT.
If you would have asked me this question like 2 weeks ago, I would have said yes. But today, I'm going to say no. I don't think we make the playoffs. I want them to, but I don't see it.
What would be your ideal NFL Sunday?
Browns win? Excuse me? Waking up, getting breakfast, I'm going to be tailgating. The Browns got to win.
But this is how I want their season to play out.
Yes.
You guys watched the Cleveland Cavaliers? Everyone thought that they were the best team in basketball. And then they got to the playoffs, and then all of our hopes were crushed and crumbled. That's what I'm hoping for the Tigers.
I guess you can call this Cleveland week here on Chris and Company. Gabb Goudy, who's been you've definitely seen her on social media, and it's like, I know that there's certain people maybe in the Detroit audience that when they see some of these guests, they're like, who is this? You don't understand how big these people's following is on TikTok and everything, and like 99,000 followers on TikTok. She's been grinding out content for a long time. It's not just Cleveland stuff. She obviously is a huge Browns fan, a huge Guardians fan, and we're going to ask all about that, but she will be coming on the program, and we'll be talking about a little history with Tigers versus Guardians/Indians. And obviously earlier this week, we had our commander-in-chief make a comment about a potential reverting back to a name change for the Cleveland Guardians/Indians. I do ask her all about that, as well as what the future has in store for the Cleveland Browns as such. I always feel like Cleveland and Detroit are very connected. There's a synergy to those two towns in regards to how the fans react to their teams, and I feel like the misery meter is very similar in terms of the way they take in their ball club. So we're going to get to all that here in just a second. Before we do, Castellani 2014 on Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. You can find this podcast on YouTube. You can find it in audio form on Apple Podcasts. You can find it in audio form on Spotify. And CastellaniContent.com. That's getting updated every single day with Detroit Tiger postgame videos and everything that Austin and I create. Your one-stop shop. Everything can be found there. Yeah. All right. Record time, maybe, potentially, in terms of our intro. We'll be back to give our send-off. But without further ado, let's get to content creator. And I think when you're close to 100,000 followers on TikTok, I'm going to say viral sensation, Gabb Goudy. Gabb Goudy joining the podcast, Chris and Company. Gosh, I don't even know what episode this is at this point. 64, 65. We've known each other for a long time. We've been interacting for a long time. And you've been making content obviously for a minute now. First off, thank you for doing the show.
Yeah, of course.
Great to kind of get the Cleveland perspective, so to speak, on a lot of different things, because I feel like Michigan and Ohio, just generally speaking, there's so much crossover in regards to our teams and where they play. But I didn't expect to start with this question, nor do I usually like to get political, but our wonderful commander-in-chief over the weekend.
Yeah, he has a lot to say.
I know. Well, about everything. And this was another made some comments about the one was about the Washington Commanders, but then the other was about the Cleveland Guardians demanding, because these are the important things that we need to be focusing on.
For sure,
demanding that the Guardians go back to the Indians. Now, thankfully, Guardians ownership and their GM came out and said, we're just going to, this is not that big of a deal to us. We're going to push forward. Nor did I expect them to back down. So I already saw on Twitter what your thoughts were on his comments. But generally speaking, I guess, what is the perception locally in terms of the name change? Like, are people still kind of peeved about it, or is it one of those things, and we see this a lot in sports, where it's a big deal, but then after a few years, people just kind of stop caring?
Honestly, I don't think it's as big as a deal as what people actually want it to be. I really just don't think it is. Like, you'll have people that still wear Indians gear at the games. Obviously, they're going to have their Indians merch. They're wearing whatever they want to wear. Fine, whatever. But for the majority of people at these games, you're seeing Guardian stuff. You're seeing the Guardians. People aren't in the crowd screaming, oh, the Indians, but the Indians. No, people aren't doing that at these games. Now, you'll get some people every once in a while. Of course you will. That's what you'll get everywhere. But I will say, you hear the most about it. I hear the most about it when I go to a different ballpark. If I'm wearing a Guardians hat in a different ballpark, someone will go out of their way and go, well, what about the Indians? I'm like, they're called the Cleveland Guardians. I'm wearing a Cleveland Guardians hat. The team name is the Cleveland Guardians. They are the Cleveland Guardians. I don't know what else I want you to. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's always someone that has nothing to do with our team, doesn't root for the team, probably hasn't even thought about them once until they showed up in the ballpark that day.
Right.
That has the most to say about the team name.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I remember when it's bizarre when people attach it like it's some sort of insult on their heritage. It's a weird thing because like people have asked me like, what would you do if the Tigers changed their name from the Tigers? I'd be like, I don't know. I mean, I grew up on the Tigers, but
yeah, but it's still your team.
The Detroit part is a lot more important to me than the Tigers part. Like the nickname is just a nickname, and I understand it. Like there's nostalgia attached to it, and I really like. I'm not gonna. If you want to wear Indians gear, go ahead and wear Indians gear. They haven't been Guardians long enough. I feel like at this point where like I need everyone to be throwing out their like old like Chief Wahoo shirts and stuff like that. But it's just one of those things that, like a lot of things in sports, but especially baseball. I mean, people were so afraid of the pitch clock and what it was going to do. Now it's just a thing. Like that change. People are more likely to accept change than we think. But I do have more Cleveland questions. But I always like to ask this question to content creators because I've started doing these like 2017, so I don't really remember an instance where you weren't on social media. You've been very consistent with your growth and your content, and I ask this question to every person who's kind of in the content game, which is, how did this start for you? Like, where were you before, and how did you get to what you're doing now?
So I did not have a sports background going into this. Not at all. I didn't go to school for sports related anything. I just was talking about sports because I genuinely am a fan of sports. I like to talk about my teams, and all my girlfriends, they were not really that sporty. And when I would talk about stuff, they're just like, man, this is kind of boring, and understandably so. That's just not what they're interested in. That's not their hobbies. So I just started posting about sports on my accounts for fun, for like a community purpose, and just saying things that I wanted to say about my teams or any team. Actually, I used to be a chemist.
Yeah.
Now I'm here talking about sports on the internet every day.
Did you? I mean, I take it you probably did, but you went to school. I take it for.
I went to school for biochemistry. I thought I was going to be an eye doctor, and then I realized I like don't want to touch people, and I don't like blood, so like we had to switch that up real quick. But I still went like a traditional chemistry route. Was working in a lab, doing things like that. That's
wild, and that's such a cool thing. And how did FanDuel get involved in this then? In terms
of like I was just posting for fun, and people started asking me. They're like, "Have you ever thought about doing this as a job?" And I was like, "No, why would I think about doing that as a job? That's crazy to me." And then I talked to a couple companies, talked to a couple people, and then that's where I ended up.
How familiar were you, or how familiar were you, I guess, with sports gambling? And was that a thing that you were involved in prior to FanDuel?
No, I've definitely bet on sports before working with them. I have like a bunch of my guy friends. We would always like bet on baseball. I was living in Pittsburgh when I first started my sports journey too. And sports betting was legal in Pennsylvania way before Ohio.
Okay. Yeah, it's where it's evolved so much in the last like 4 or 5 years that I forget. Like even as early as like a decade ago, it was still kind of like this. I can't really say underground thing necessarily because a lot of people did it, but it was not. It was not at the forefront the way it is. So, well, no, I mean that's obviously really cool, and it's such a difficult. The older I get and the further I get along in this journey, like the more I respect people who've been that consistent and are able to kind of crack the algorithm the way that you have. And obviously with the Tigers and Cleveland, I feel like, especially with the Guardians having this connection over the last few years. And it's a strange thing because this last year was legitimately, I think, the first time since I've been doing content where one of our teams didn't suck. Like usually for a long time, it was you guys would kick the shit out of us. And then like before I got into content, it was like the early 2010s where it was reversed and we had like Miggy and Verlander and our teams were super good. Last year, we finally overlapped a little bit. And now Cleveland kind of finds themselves at a crossroads again. And, things have changed so much in Major League Baseball where teams that are hovering around 500 can still look at where they're at in the standings and say, hey, look, we're not out of it, expanded postseason, wild card. But Cleveland's always been a team that I feel like has sold high on a lot of their pieces. Always. With a few weeks left to go, I think 10 days until the deadline, how do you see this trade deadline shaping out for them? Do you feel like they're going to be heavy sellers or do you feel like they're more likely to stand pat?
I don't think that they are going to go selling outrageously. Now, I could see them getting rid of some pieces, like maybe Lane Thomas, but who's going to want Lane Thomas right now? I think Lane Thomas is personally a great player, but can he stay on a baseball field right now? Looking not likely. Maybe Carlos Santana, but I just don't see them doing anything like too crazy.
Do you think Clase is in play?
I said back in March, and this one got me like roasted from top to bottom. I got asked, who do you think is most likely to be traded, or who could you see that the Guardians trade at the trade deadline? I said Clase is probably the most tradable piece on that roster. That's not saying that I think they should or shouldn't trade him. I just am thinking out of all the players that they have on that team, you could get the most value out of Emmanuel Clase for what he's done with the contract that he has and the potential for like what he's doing. I mean, not many teams have a great closer. Now, if he can be consistent with it, we just have to see. But we know who he has been.
Yeah, and relievers are so weird with that because teams are always looking for bullpen help at the deadline. And I feel like, typically speaking, and as frustrating as I'm sure it is when you are a fan of this team and these players, Cleveland has done in the past a really good job of selling high on certain pieces. Like what they got Clase for. Kluber pitched one inning in Texas, and like Clase ended up becoming a dynamite closer. Like they've had a pretty consistent record with that. But I felt like, look, last year was obviously an awesome year for the Guardians. Made it all the way to the ALCS, and I had some back and forths on social media because, like I said, Cleveland has traditionally done a good job selling high. From your guys' standpoint, now I was happy with it as Tiger fan, but from your guys' standpoint, I hated the Josh Naylor trade. I hate it for multiple reasons. I felt like the one thing you guys couldn't do was trade offense, and you did. And secondly, I also think that you guys have made a living, and a lot of this goes back to the Francona years of like having really good clubhouse culture and really good clubhouse guys. And I feel like Naylor was just the prime example of that. What was your standpoint on, or what was your perspective on that trade when it happened? How do you feel about it now that we're 100 games removed from it?
I knew it was going to happen. I hated it from the start. I don't hate it as much now. I mean, I do miss Josh Naylor. I think having Josh Naylor in your lineup makes your lineup extremely better than what they're doing right now. Clearly, we can't hit home runs. They never have. But still, they're not doing that. I do like Slade Cecconi. I think Slade Cecconi has potential to be a really good pitcher on this roster. I've liked what I've seen from him so far. He does kind of have the little Josh Naylor psycho to him. I think he does. He's like talking to himself on the mound. I like him. But I just like Josh Naylor more. Yeah. From a fan perspective.
For sure. And I also think it's about what fits the team. And I do understand the rationale behind it, which is, they wanted to upgrade starting pitching. And Cleveland has a history of whether it's developing guys or just finding guys and they're able to just kind of fix them, turn them around, whether it was, they did it with Kluber or Carrasco or any one of these guys that kind of came up through their system. So I understand them doing it. It was just, I felt like at best it was probably a lateral move. And, and you guys, one thing that both Cleveland fans and Detroit fans are very familiar with, especially when it comes to their baseball teams, are having to watch players that we love then have remarkable amounts of success for other teams. Yep. I mean, that was literally a heavy majority of the latter part of the 2010s and into the 20s was just watching every former Tiger win a Cy Young, win a World Series, throw a no-hitter, or some variation of the bunch. And it's weird how it works where like Tiger fans still, they love and still root for Verlander, and I do as well. There's some other guys who've left here where it's like, not so much, don't really pay attention to it. The one that I'm curious about is Lindor, because I love Lindor. Yeah. I still do. I loved him. Even though he killed us, I loved him in Cleveland. Love him in New York. It's been crazy to think about. It's been about 5 calendar years now since he got traded. Do you still find yourself checking in and rooting for Francisco Lindor? Or is it kind of too difficult at this point?
I'm 100% rooting for Francisco Lindor in every aspect of his life and career. I thought Francisco Lindor was an amazing player when he played in Cleveland. He was great during his time here, and I really hated that we would never give a player like that the money that he deserves to stay.
Yeah, and it's strange because, I mean, they all but admitted, and I think we're kind of on our end going through something similar now with where we're at with Tarek Skubal, which is the guy has just reached a point where he's so good that he's probably pricing himself out of the organization. Yeah. Now, I thought that the way that the Lindor thing was handled, which is they just flat out admitted, like, he ain't coming back. Like, we're going to figure out a way.
The exact quote was, enjoy him.
Yeah, that's just, I would rather in that situation you lie and be like, well, we'll try to get
so mean. It was so mean.
Yeah, like we'll try to get something done.
Enjoy him.
And it's the way that the Tigers look at it with Skubal is just like and so much can change in a year plus is just I think from a business standpoint, they just don't feel like it's necessarily a smart idea to give anyone $400 million or whatever.
I understand for sure.
Yeah, I could still debate that because I think he's the best in the world at what he does. But it is frustrating, especially when it's a homegrown guy. Like how many Francisco Lindors just come through your system? Like that's like a once in every 30-year player. So he's always been fantastic to watch. And one thing that I talk about in so much of my content, especially when we play you guys, regardless of how good or bad you guys might be, is that there's always Tiger killers. And currently, I mean, J Ram is like the ultimate one where like I'm terrified when that guy comes to the dish. Now, Jose Ramirez is going to be a Hall of Famer, so he kind of kills a lot of teams. It's not like, and now Quan is the other guy where it's like, I feel like because he hits leadoff, we face him every inning. He hits like 400 against us. And I've had this theory for a while that there's nobody on the current Tigers roster as a position player that I feel like totally destroys Cleveland pitching the way that those guys get to the Tigers. And now there's pitchers like Tarek's been awesome against you guys and some other guys, but is there a Tiger player on the roster right now that when you watch them, he scares you the way that, and nobody's this good, but scares you the way that Miggy did in the 2010s, where it's just like, please, anybody but this guy, don't let this guy beat you?
No, I mean, from top to bottom, I think it's a great lineup. I think any person that you put at the plate on the Tigers right now is going to provide a good at bat, but there's not like a one specific, maybe like Kerry Carpenter, because I'll have PTSD from that home run.
Kerry,
like,
that's probably the one.
Yeah, but like even then, it's just like it could be anyone at any time. But I also have confidence in the Guardians when they're playing against the Tigers, which is insane.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I'm getting better, but I'm probably need about 2 more years of like trauma-free baseball before I'm like, okay, we're pretty good against this team. Like and we'll talk about Ohio State football at some point in a minute, but it was like that with Michigan, Ohio State with the longest time, where it's like no matter the score, no matter where Michigan was at in this game, I'm like, I know how this ends. Like, you're giving me hope. You're scaring me. There's been a little bit of change, but yeah. You've done so many cool things with your content. You've done stuff at the All-Star game and everything like that, which I think is so cool. And I really, it is, of all the things that go on in Major League Baseball, and I know it's not perfect, the one thing that Major League Baseball has that is head and shoulders better than every other sport is their just all-star festivities. Like, it's not even close. Like, I would argue all-star games in sports, except for baseball, are pretty played out at this point. I mean,
no, I agree. I say that MLB All-Star is my favorite event that I go to every single year.
It's. I mean, we literally have flag football for the Pro Bowl at this point. Like that's like
just wrap it up.
Yeah, I think it's just this weird pride thing in baseball where it's the only sport where like you have to try if you're in that game. Like, pitcher's going to go out and throw 65 or else they're going to get hammered. Like no guy's just going to go up there and take 3 pitches. There is still like this sense of pride to that game. And you've been able to ask and talk to a lot of different players. Have you had an experience in the years, whether it was this year or in years past, a certain player that you talked to that you felt like, yeah, this was a lot of fun, or this was a moment where you connected with somebody?
Oh, I always loved chatting with Stephen Kwan. That's my favorite part of every All-Star. That he's always incredible to talk to. One of my favorite parts, though, this is a very specific, my like favorite ever All-Star moment was I was going up to Jose Ramirez's table, and again, MLB All-Star best for fans and media. They give you access to everyone. You can do anything you want, talk to all the players. It's amazing. But I'm going up to Jose Ramirez's table. I'm standing in line, and like I've met him before, very, very awesome guy. And these men cut in front of me because, it's a media scrum. They're like in your way, shoving you to get to where they want to be. I'm like, let's not do that. Maybe let's not do that, guys. But these guys cut in front of me, and Jose looks at them and goes, behind her now. It was awesome. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, and this is always the toughest part, is that I swear to God, the guys who kill the Tigers are always the nicest people. There's always like Lindor is always smiling. Quan is like this super well-spoken guy. Like Sal Perez for the Royals is always like the nicest dude. Bobby Witt's super cool. It's like, they've always had a very good culture there, and I think it's MLB struggled with this for a long time, but I feel like in the last few years, it's gotten so much better with the access they give content creators. And I have a theory that like the John Boy lip reads really kind of paved the way for a lot of that when they were like, these are doing like 1 million views a pop, just like, these guys breaking down ejections, like, now they still got to fix the blackouts and stuff like that. But I think generally speaking, like what I see, and maybe it's just my TikTok algorithm, whether it's you or we had Erica Jones last week or Kate Maniscalco, who's everywhere. She's our most requested guest for Chris and Company, by the way.
Oh, she's amazing.
She rules, and she posts about the Tigers all the time. So like I like all the like Tarek Skubal stuff that she does. Yeah, she gets multiple requests to come on the show. Do you ever and you've been at it for a minute now. Do you ever get starstruck? Like, has there been a situation where you're like, oh my God?
Oh yeah, walking by Otani every time. I'm like, I shouldn't be allowed to be beside you. That should not be allowed at all.
Have you had the opportunity to speak to him?
Oh no, absolutely not. I don't think I could. I probably would pass out.
Really? Have you requested to, or is it just
no? I have nothing of substance to say to that man that would provide something for people. So I'm just going to let him be and exist.
It's a weird thing because there is a certain like don't meet your heroes thing, and it's not to say like
Yeah.
I'm sure he's a wonderful guy, but he is one of probably 4 or 5 athletes left in the world that have this mystique to them, like they're this mythical creature almost. I would say LeBron had that for the longest time.
I could never meet LeBron.
Yeah, like when he was at his peak, where it's like it's crazy to me that Shohei Ohtani and I are technically the same species. Like this Goliath of a human being. Guy can throw 100, like hit 55 home runs, swipe 50 bags, and it's an incredible thing that I think has happened. I didn't even mean to make this in Ohtani conversation, but I think the impact that he's just had on the sport as a whole, and it's something I was thinking about, which is like baseball. There's multiple guys that we talk about as the all-time greats, but I feel like baseball is the one major sport that doesn't have a definitive GOAT. Like basketball, there's like one of two. You go LeBron, you go MJ, which is a debate that people have forever. Football, people point to Tom Brady, obviously. Hockey, you go to Wayne Gretzky. I feel like with the way that Ohtani's career is progressing, like he is kind of the one that like we're gonna look back on and be like probably the most talented baseball player, at least of my lifetime, if not many other lifetimes.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's a strange thing because I do an interview show now, so I try to find common ground with people, and I think the one thing that you've done a good job of with your content, that a lot of content creators do a good job of, is just like you find commonality. Like at the end of the day, you love baseball, and the person you're talking to loves baseball or plays baseball as well. And I'm also at a point now where I'm like I'm older than some of these guys, so I don't want to I am, and it doesn't feel like it, but like I'm older than Tarek Skubal, and I've talked to him twice, and like I literally like a child have his poster behind me in the room. That's like, but I have just such a respect for what they do, so you try not to like fanboy too hard, but it gets difficult. I want to expand a little bit and talk about some other kind of Ohio or Cleveland based sports, because my dream in life as an NFL fan is to get, and I feel like we got the World Series equivalent of this in 2016, is to have a Lions-Browns Super Bowl. I feel like at that point, that's like
you're asking for a lot right there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's right before the meteor hits. Like when that happens, it's like that's the end time. That's the apocalypse. That's something's got to give, because one of these teams is going to come away from this with something that they've never seen before. And I feel like the way that the Browns are going, it's strange because I like Stefanski. I think he's probably
I like Kevin Stefanski,
the best coach that they've had. I mean, not saying much, but the best coach they've had in a long time. I think he's been very consistent. And they've had a lot of pieces over the last, half decade plus 8 years, really going back to Baker. But they went all out to get what they thought was their franchise quarterback.
They did.
All-time disaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess going back to that, and I don't even want to bring up the Watson stuff just because it's kind of difficult to navigate through. But even before that, where do you stand on Baker? Did you feel like it was time to separate from Baker, given the lack of production that he'd had the season before, or do you feel like that was an unfair hand that he was dealt, considering that he was dealing with a shoulder injury before they let him walk?
No, I don't think they should have kept Baker Mayfield at all. I don't think that this team would have been any more successful at all with Baker Mayfield still on the roster. Now, Tampa, they're good. They're not going to win a Super Bowl. They're not a Super Bowl contender. Would you say Tampa is a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, they're just good. It's weird because I want to say that a team that is probably the best team in their division that has made it to the playoffs each of the last 2 years, it's probably. But yeah, I guess they don't have.
That division is terrible,
and they don't have a Super Bowl ceiling. I would say you're probably right. Yes,
but in the same sense, I will say that Deshaun Watson is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. So like.
This is what I have to ask about, because there's so many like very ugly details of what's happened with Watson. But I just sticking to the on the field stuff. And I've asked people, and I know that he dealt with some injuries, but even before all the extracurriculars that he's gotten, punished for, rightfully so, he was a very good quarterback.
No, he was. He was a really good quarterback. He was
top 5,
well liked.
Yeah, he was a top 5-10 quarterback in the league in Houston.
Yeah.
So removing all the circus that has come with it, just on the field, What's happened?
I mean, like once you are publicly shamed like that, then you take a big mental toll on your life.
Yeah.
Also, this is just my opinion. I don't think he cares. I just don't think he gives one F from top to bottom about this football team, this city, none of these people. He got $230 million from Jimmy Haslam guaranteed.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't even have to play football.
That's something that I bring up all the time, whether it's with guys who get drafted and get handed big contracts or guys who sign free agent deals. It's like the one thing you can't predict in sports is how much money changes you. And there's certain guys who like they spend their entire life waiting for the life-changing money. And then when they get the life-changing money, it's, hey, I'm set. Like this is, I've done, I've worked to get to this point and they don't have that fire. It's like, I always respected, and he made his money, but I always respected like Tom Brady would consistently restructure his contract to allow the Patriots to go out and get like other players. And it's like, that speaks to the fact that like the guy cared so much about winning. And I think it sets up this insane, and have they announced who the Hard Knocks team is for this upcoming season?
I think that they did, but
I think they did too. But I would have.
Sure they did.
And I know that they've done you guys in the past. I would have loved
Is
to
it the
see
Giants?
I think it is, yes, and which is a good choice. I would have loved to have seen the Browns this year, just because
keep that circus out of TV.
Right, well, I know I'm saying this only as a consumer. As a fan, I'd be like,
I know,
because the Lions had theirs, but the Lions had theirs at a perfect time because it was right before we got good. So it was one of those like, oh, it's a feel good thing, like it's entertainment, we get to watch it. But you have this situation where the Browns have this quarterback room that's very full, and yet we're not completely sure if it's full of guys who are good. And so there's this there's this revolving door. And so the first question I'll ask is, 17 games, so much can change. Who takes the most snaps as the Browns quarterback this season?
Most snaps, no idea. First snap, Joe Flacco.
I would agree.
Joe Flacco will be on that football field to start this season. I just don't see a world where anyone else is out there.
I would agree. Once you get beyond that, it's so rare a team drafts two rookies, let alone two rookies in the 4th and 5th round. I do think, and I think part of this is just like the Cleveland circus and the way this stuff plays out. I think this ends. I'm not saying it's going to be successful, but ends with Shedeur getting a legit look. Like, I don't think that they drafted him just out of some like, let's take a flyer. Like,
bad.
Yeah, like it was 5th round. I think that what happened with him was this weird thing, and I saw a comment that I felt like totally made sense, which is he wasn't quite good enough to be a game changer, step in from day one, like A+ starting quarterback, and he wasn't quite worth the circus to be a backup right now. But in this weird situation in Cleveland, like I feel like it's kind of perfect for him. He's going to feel like he's going to have something to prove, and ultimately, like this guy was a 1st round evaluation by a lot of teams. That means you have a skill set that's clearly like NFL ready in some capacity. He's going to get a look. Dylan Gabriel, I don't think has the size. I think that there's a lot of issues with arm strength there, but it's crazy. I guess your expectations for this team this year, because it's a tough division to win in, you're coming off of a difficult season. I mean, no disrespect to the guy, but Flacco's what, 40? I mean, the guy's been in the league forever. I mean, God bless him. He's made he's had a remarkable career, had an all-time Super Bowl run. What do you need to see? It doesn't even need to be record necessarily. What do you need to see from the Browns this year that's going to make you feel confident about the direction that they're headed in the future?
I don't think I'm ever going to feel confident.
Fair.
Until I see it actually with my eyes, I don't think I'll ever feel confident in any direction they go. They could do the best. They could put Patrick Mahomes on that football field and somehow it'll go wrong.
Yeah.
Is how I feel about the Cleveland Browns. I know that's crazy to say, but like they've tried everything and anything and nothing has worked. The only thing that somehow works a little bit is Myles Garrett out there. And we're like wasting him away. Can't even keep Nick Chubb.
Were you surprised by that extension?
Yeah, I actually was very surprised about that.
Me too. Yeah.
I did not think he was going to come back, or I thought he was just going to hold out.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, okay, we'll give you some money. I mean, if it's one thing Jimmy Haslam will do, he will pay people. He will pay people. Well, I don't know if it's always the best decision, but he'll do it.
That's what's been weird, and it's kind of it's a big separation between where the Browns are at versus where like the Guardians are at, because the Guardians,
Oh yeah,
my whole thing with Cleveland's baseball, and maybe it's changed a little bit the last few years, but especially like in their heyday, was they have an awesome front office and terrible ownership, because like they've developed players, they do a good job, they do more with less, and then when the moment comes to pay these guys or build around the core they never do it.
Yeah.
The Browns, generally speaking, probably since like the first Baker season, have shown an ability to like go out and spend and kind of flex a little bit and get guys. Now I feel like, you look at the Watson deal, they've either overspent or spent poorly, but it's like, it's something. I mean,
I would rather to do so. Like that's not an effort that I personally would have made, but still they're like spending and trying, unlike Paul Dolan, who just sits around and says someone else figure it out.
Yeah. Do you see, and I, this stuff gets thrown out there all the time, but are there any rumblings in Cleveland about the Dolans potentially selling the Guardians?
Well, they have another guy that just came in, David Blitzer, on the ownership, and I think he's trying to take it over from him eventually. I don't know when that all will happen, but I think that they are trying to get out of it, which I hope they do. I would love, this would never, ever, ever happen, Dan Gilbert steps in and buys.
There's been people who've wanted that for the Tigers too. Because
Dan Gilbert's an awesome owner.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is like I know that like he's found himself in the news a lot, but the fact is like there's only one owner in Cleveland right now that boasts a championship, and it's him. And the fact that like to their credit, and it took a while, but the Cavs have found an identity post LeBron. They actually have, and say what you want about the way that things have gone in the playoffs, they've been as consistent a regular season team as anyone over the last few seasons. It's like he's shown the ability to spend money. There were rumors because he's been involved. He's from Michigan. He went to Michigan State. Like he's been involved in Detroit stuff before. There has always kind of been those rumblings about whether or not he'd be interested in owning a Detroit team. Now I think, and I'm not sure now, I don't think he's in the best of health at this point. No. So I think that that things have kind of changed with him. Moving on here to a little bit to Ohio State football in the college ranks, because I find the dynamic or the relationship that Ohio State fans have with Ryan Day to be very interesting, and also in a weird way understandable, because the thing about college sports, especially more so than any other sports fandom, is it's wildly irrational. Like we put guys' entire legacies on one game, right? Like. And I've tried to put myself in the shoes of Ohio State football fans from the last year and been like, hey, you did your thing. You won a national championship, had a remarkable run to do it. Incredible team. Like that really was an amazing bounce back. But if I was an Ohio State fan, in the back of my head, I'm still like, how the fuck do you lose to Michigan? Like, seriously,
I agree. Yeah. So I'm not an Ohio State fan.
Right. I know. But it's just,
I see it every day. I mean, I want them to win because it's more fun when my friends are having fun and we're like going to do stuff. But like, it's so funny how they act about it.
Right. And that was going to be the question I was going to ask you, because I know that you're around it so much, which is like, has perspective on him changed, or was it more so like, hey, you did your job, but we still need you to but the approval rating is still kind of so at this point?
It's better than what it was.
Yes, for sure.
But I thought it was getting really bad. It was bad for a while. I mean, you won a national championship. You can't be too upset.
Right.
But still, I think they like to make fun of him. They make fun of the man all the time.
They do. And it's a strange, I'm not saying he's easy to pick on necessarily. I think that he has, because I think generally, and I've seen him in interviews and stuff, seems like an awesome dude. Like I have no personal issues against him. It was that first year they lost to Michigan. And Harbaugh, and Harbaugh's an ass, but that's always been his brand. Right? Harbaugh made that comment about some people are born on third base and think they hit a triple. It's very clear that comment has bothered him for several years, and he's consistently tried to game plan around being tougher than Michigan, beating Michigan at the line of scrimmage, and they just haven't been able to do it. And it's like the guys, he wins 11 games a year. They won a national championship a year ago. But it's this weird thing where as fan bases, it's almost like the Yankees, Red Sox, where as good as the Red Sox were for a while, it wasn't going to, even if they won a World Series, it wasn't going to hit the same unless they beat the Yankees to do it. And I feel like that's and that's where Michigan was at for a long time. And that's where Ohio State kind of finds themselves at now. And, Ohio State, I feel like has been if we're including professional teams, Ohio State football especially has been the most consistent team in Ohio for at least my lifetime. Maybe not saying much. Though I have no room to brag considering how bad things were in Detroit for a long time. But, Cleveland, obviously, I would say of all the championships that have been won in my lifetime, perhaps the heaviest ring of any team is Cleveland's 2016 run. For sure. And it's I'm going to ask, because my fear, and I'm using air quotes here, is that if the Tigers win the World Series, best day ever, tears, parade and everything, there will be a certain sadness I'll feel, because I'll be like, nothing will ever top this.
No, for sure. 100%.
That's the apex of my sports fandom.
No, I get that.
Yeah, I've seen Michigan win the national championship for football. Amazing. Multiple Final Fours, come close. But that's the one where, depending on what age I'm at, I'm going to be like, well.
That was it.
We can this.
That's all I'll get.
It's kind of like reaching the season finale or the season finale of a TV show and being like, shit, we got 8 seasons left. I have no more material here. This is what we kind of been built up to. Have you had that mindset with what happened with the Cavs and LeBron in that run? Or do you feel like, given, where the Browns are at, or, the Cavs still going for it, or some of the other teams in Cleveland, that there can be a championship in Cleveland that can top what that meant to not just LeBron, but especially to the city of Cleveland and to the fan base? For
me personally, absolutely not. That is my peak sports moment. I don't think we'll ever see another championship in my lifetime. That's just a Cleveland pessimist in me. That's just how I got to go about my days.
Yeah.
But for other people in Cleveland, I know if the Browns won a Super Bowl, that would mean more to them. It wouldn't for me. It would absolutely not for me. But for other people, it definitely would. Yeah, and that's what you're describing is almost the exact same as how I feel in Detroit. And that's not to say I don't love the Lions, because I do, but it's just I've reached this point now, and maybe it's just my narcissism shining through, but I feel this connection with the fan base of the Tigers so much that I view that at that's my championship. Yeah, the way that you probably view it with the Cavs. And I also think that it's just the 1 in 16, that was such an emotional run. And I also think that it was a huge moment for probably the legacies of about 10 different players, but especially with LeBron. And now we're transitioning, because I still always associate with LeBron as being the Ohio kid, and I still think of him as a Cavalier, and he'll go into the Hall of Fame as a Cav and everything. But given where he's at in his career and kind of this crossroads where I can't believe I'm saying he's 40 years old, still playing at a high level. LeBron James, this is talk about something that makes me feel old. I was in 2nd grade when LeBron James made his debut. One of my first memories of sports was LeBron and him being on the cover of Sports Illustrated. That's all I know.
Yeah, and it's I always bring this up, but I don't think there's any athlete, literally ever, who has had as high of expectations and lived up to, and in many ways exceeded every one of those expectations the way that LeBron has. It really is insane. Do you think there's any chance that we see that he decides, I'm going to run it back one more year in Cleveland? And if so, would you be down for that? Or do you feel like the Cavaliers at this point, given where they're at, have kind of advanced beyond that?
Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't see that happening. Yeah. Would I like for it to happen? I mean, if LeBron James is on my basketball team, why would I ever say no?
Right.
I mean, could never say no to that. But I also feel like I love LeBron James. He's my favorite basketball player of all time. But at some point, you're going to have to move on from it.
Yeah.
He's not going to play forever. He's not going to be here forever. You have to find something outside of that, and to be able to build something outside of that. If they would have won a championship, they should have. They could have. They had the best roster out there, but they choked. Anyways, they should be able to build something without LeBron. You can't just hold on to that forever. I would love to. I would love to watch LeBron play basketball for every day of my life, but we can't have that.
Yeah, the only reason I feel like it would be appealing now is for 2 reasons. One, the Cavs are legitimately good, so it wouldn't just be this lame, we can sell tickets now because LeBron's back. There'd be actual purpose to it. Right. And 2, they have, it would be basically a retirement tour. And that he's going to and I like LeBron a lot, but they're going to give him the whole red carpet treatment for that final
season. And I want to win
season.
basketball games is what I want to do.
That's the thing. And that's why I've had that same kind of, fantasy, so to speak, with Justin Verlander and the Tigers, where it's God, I would love to see Ver come back for one more run with him and Skubal together in this rotation. And watching both him and the Tigers this year, I'm like, you know what? maybe it was for the best.
Yeah, maybe you don't need him out there right now.
It's like, and it's so they're kind of similar in the sense that I feel like for 10 years we've waited for them to see some sort of decline, and they just don't. Like LeBron is still playing it.
Like LeBron is still really, really so good, but still, like, I just don't see it happening.
Where did you stand? And I haven't had a chance to ask Cleveland people about this, but you heard the national media wouldn't shut up about it. Where did you stand on the whole LeBron and Bronny James playing together thing in Los Angeles? Because the way I looked at it was like, and I don't even mean this as a negative towards LeBron.
Yeah.
But I viewed it as a who gives a fuck. It's a nice little.
No, I agree.
It's manufactured, like obviously, but
you're all watching it. You're all watching it.
Yeah. So were you fine with it? You were cool with it?
I went to the first game where Bronny scored his points. It was sick.
Yeah.
I loved it. I had fun.
Yeah, I understand like feeling as though it is manufactured. It is. I also think like there was a local thing here. I remember several years back, Tom Izzo, who's obviously the coach of Michigan State, who was almost the coach of the Cavs at one point back in 2010. He had his son walk onto the team for, several years. And we've had Steven on the show, and I love him to death. He's great. And there were even some like assholes on Twitter who were like, he's going to take a spot from somebody. It's like, you know what? This guy has given you more to this program than anybody. Give him this one. I feel that way with LeBron. It's like the guy has stayed out of trouble. He's been the face of the NBA for 2+ decades at this point. Like if he wants to have a son on the team, it's a neat thing. I understand there's like a kind of a superficial element to it, but how rare is it just at all that an athlete and his son get to both play at the professional level at the same time, let alone an athlete whose father is like the greatest player of all time. So yeah, it's arguably, depending on who you ask. But one last thing to kind of bring it around here for your, because I think that you guys, I see you travel all the time.
Yes.
And it's like, that's one thing that I like to say that I could do that. And maybe it's not so much fear of flying. I don't know. I'm a nervous Nelly. I'm just an anxious guy. I don't know if I could go from like, I'm in Cleveland, now I'm in Atlanta, and with that said, my dream is to like go to every major league park. Like that's the entirety of my bucket list. Of the parks that you've been to, and I don't know how many specifically of the major league parks you've gone to, what would be on your, I'm not going to ask for a favorite specifically, but maybe give me like a Mount Rushmore of the best ones that you've experienced so far.
I have a very specific favorite if you want me to start with that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead then, yeah.
Camden Yards by far has always been my favorite. It's incredible. Like even outside of the ballpark, it's fun. Inside of the ballpark, it's fun. Everything that they have there is a great experience. The food, delicious. Could be a bit more fans, but like what are you going to do when their team's not really buying players for them to go and watch? But just as a like general baseball fan, it's really fun and great.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it. In many ways, like it deserves a lot of credit because that was a 90s ballpark, and a lot of parks that came after it, like conceptually tried to do something similar to what Camden Yards did, where it's like we're gonna make it look new and fresh, but we're also gonna have similar throwbacks, and we're gonna pay homage to the past. And like I feel like a lot of parks, whether it was Petco Park or T-Mobile Park in Seattle, or even Comerica to a certain extent, was trying to do something similar. One thing, and I've been there multiple times, I find Progressive Field to be, and I feel this way about Comerica too, to be kind of underrated. I think Progressive Field, I think it's a nice ballpark. I think that both Comerica and Progressive get punished for like maybe not having anything spectacular, but I don't view that as a bad thing. I just think it's a good place to watch a game. Both are in the heart of their respective cities. Mm-hmm. But I've heard several things about Progressive maybe being on the outs, or them updating, or maybe going to a different park. Is that something that you think we're going to see in the next decade, or do you hope that they just continue to upgrade?
No, they just spent so much. They spent millions of dollars to upgrade that park. Last summer. So I don't think that they're going to be going anywhere anytime soon. The upgrades are incredible though. Nice. I haven't been there yet since the upgrades, but I always liked going there. There's a lot of things to do. It's in a good part of the city. I know and it's relatively convenient. I mean, that's the one downside of a lot of these downtown parks. It's just like, it's hard to get to. And whether it's downtown parking or anything, like I think Cleveland and Detroit are cities that are they're just small enough where like, it's not, you're not parking miles away. I love a downtown ballpark though.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's awesome.
Like look at the Dodgers. Kansas City. No, I don't want to go to that parking lot.
Yeah, and I think that they're trying to get out of there too, because I think that
Yeah.
they've been good. Well, I think the way of the future is like what Cleveland and Detroit have done, which is have all these similar like stadiums close to each other in like proximity, in the heart of the city. It was so weird because like
build around them.
Yeah, because the Pistons, like for the longest time, and the Palace was awesome, but like played in Auburn Hills, which is like kind of a distance from downtown Detroit. Now everything's like relatively close to each other, which I think is good. We've interacted on Twitter for a long time. You've always been very cool to me, which I appreciate, as have most of the Cleveland people. I've been fucking with them lately just because we've beaten them, but it's the first time in like 8
Yeah,
years.
you know, honestly, we're gonna let you have your moment.
I know, right? Yes, I appreciate it. And honestly, it's crazy because like the original, like some of the original, like it feels like forever ago, like Castellani rants were Cleveland based, taking trips to Cleveland. You guys have always been really cool, and I think it's awesome the way your content's grown. And like seeing like 99,000, I believe right now, last I checked on TikTok, which is it's really difficult to do. It's something that we've been trying to grow for several years now, and to be able to do it independently the way you have, and to have like insightful takes and to work hard, it's not easy. So we'll definitely link to your socials and everything. Not that you need it at this point, but we definitely will. Officially, and I would argue always have been a friend of the program, but now that you've been on, and we will have you on at some point. We'll have you on when the Browns and Lions play in the Super Bowl. So I'll be 80 and you'll be 75, but I'm sure it'll be Chris and Company episode 3000. But we will have a wonderful conversation then, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I had so much fun.
That was a lot of fun. She's always been super cool, and it was great to catch up. I like kind of getting that Cleveland perspective, and especially because I don't know, like I said, I feel like the cities in many ways are connected in regard to how they feel about their sports teams. And I love the pessimism of Cleveland sports fans, because I feel like we share that here in Detroit of like, I don't know if I'll ever see a championship. I'm waiting for things to go bad. And it is fun now, especially with where we're at in Detroit sports right now, to slowly see the pendulum kind of swing to optimism. I remember when we had Jim Costa on and I asked him to rank the Detroit sports fans from most to least cynical. And he brought up the fact that the Lions have kind of flipped it. Like this was the most cynical fan base in the city. Now it's probably the most optimistic. And that's fun. That's called evolution. If this was a movie, it would be called a character arc. So appreciate her coming on. And we're going to continue to have on many content creators. We're still in the heart of summer. And I said at the beginning of the summer that I feel like this is an opportunity with no college football going on, no college basketball going on, to really kind of broaden our horizons in regard to the people that we have on this program. My goal from the beginning is I want to interview people that I find interesting. And I think that we've been doing that. And whether it's different content creators, athletes, what have you, we're going to continue to expand this. I'll say this is always going to be consistent. That's always going to be Detroit sports. It's always going to be Michigan sports. I love doing that. But you want to mix things up with the interviews, and I feel like we've been able to do that. So I appreciate her joining the show. Follow me on Twitter at Castellani2014. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. You find this podcast on YouTube. You can find us in audio form on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And, of course, CastellaniContent.com, your one-stop shop for everything that Austin and I create. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Gabby for coming on the program today. And thank you, of course, to Austin Sisler for being a wonderful producer and friend. I will talk to y'all again real soon. Have a great rest of your day. Peace and happiness.
It's an unfair game. We got to think differently.